Mike Owens with Inside Fighting here, joined today by Veronica Hardy, who returns to action UFC 309, Madison Square Garden. Veronica, always a pleasure to sit down and chat. How are things with you today?
Oh, I'm all good. Thanks for having me.
How are your emotions ahead of your return?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I've quite changed as a person since my return.
Mm,
Just it's such a internal journey as much as it has been outside
mm,
of MMA. It kind of all happened at once,
mm,
like linked up,
mm.
and
Yeah.
this sort of change. So I do feel like quite a different person. Still myself, but quite a different person.
You've been one of the very lucky fighters throughout this COVID era to never have the pleasure or displeasure to have to fight in the UFC Apex. You've always been on the road. And when we think about London, when I saw you in Austin, St. Louis last time out, and then now Madison Square Garden. I just want you to talk about what an opportunity it is to fight at the Mecca and this kind of run that you've been on of kind of this road and of fighting on the road all throughout the last year, 12 year to 18 months.
Yeah, I mean it's been super cool. I've been so fortunate to have that. Like even it's not just about I guess fighting in the apex, it's the whole feel of it.
Mm,
It's way different when you're gonna fight in an arena in a place or like like a stadium in a place and then the people interact. It's weird. It's different because it's a show that people are excited for and you can kind of feel it
mm,
and it I might just, it might not be like that for everybody.
mm.
But for me, that's kind of what it feels like. So to have all that additional energy outside, in a city that's excited, because when the UFC comes to a place, people love it,
Mm.
and it's so cool that they get a chance to see that and do that, as well as it is for me being on the other side.
I know you're in New York City training for this one at the moment. Does preparing to fight in Madison Square Garden feel any different?
I mean, New York City, man, it's so epic. Like as a city, it is
Mm,
just it's amazing. It's like everybody is just, like themselves. Then they're unapologetic about it. They just go out and they're like the best version of themselves with nothing to hold them back. And you get to see that, or I get to see that training here like on a daily basis as a daily reminder of how cool it is to be so free and to fight in a place like this. For me it means a lot.
well, wow, you've made me want to book a plane ticket and get a flight over and come and watch your fight. But yeah, you said that. As someone who's never been to New York City, you've made me very jealous. Talking about the fight, do you think you're going to be the first fight of the night again? Are you going to keep this streak up, or do you think we can move you further up the card? Because I feel like all the good work you've done in the last few fights, you deserve a little bit higher than the curtain jerker, dare I say?
I mean, I don't mind. I think it's pretty cool because I'm fighting in America, and then I have friends and family in Europe, so
Oh,
they
true.
get to watch me
Yeah.
fight and not stay up. And
Yeah.
like it's still an enjoyable time for them to be able to watch it where it's not too late. Like
Mm.
as somebody who lives in Europe, it's pretty awful to try and watch a fight at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, as the Manchester crowd was able to get. Um, so yeah, I think like for me, that's how I view it. So I'm pretty happy if I would be the first fight, second fight,
Okay.
any of that.
We'll be back to the video in just a second, but first, it's the NFL season. We're right in the thick of things, and Inside Fighting has partnered up with DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL, and we've got an amazing offer for you right now where if you are a new DraftKings customer, you can go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly just by using our promo code Inside Fighting.
I know that you spent some time in GP Top Team earlier on in this camp, and I know that, as I mentioned, you're now, I think, primarily basing yourself out of Renzo Gracie's for the rest part of this camp. Who makes the decision? Who made the decision to kind of base yourself where you do, and why were those the specific areas? Because I do know that you've done a lot of cross training across a lot of gyms.
Um, I think sometimes it's connecting with the right people.
Mm.
I was very fortunate in not only being able to come here, being welcomed here, to train here, but also to meet some really incredible people that you just kind of want to be around because they help you evolve as a person, as an athlete. And that those are the things that draw me to places, things besides the technique and besides the way that they view it, just their view for the future and the way things are now, and just to have a passion for it. And those are the places that I have found people like that, where I've connected with the team as well as with the technical aspect.
100%. In terms of actually game planning for this fight, who comes up with the game plan? Is that a conversation that you have between your coaches? Is that something that you let Dan do all the work of, given his skills in that area? Like, who comes up with the actual game plan for the fight?
We all do, really.
Mm.
I really think it's a group effort. Everyone has to play their part. Everyone, can watch it, and because they have a different lens and a different viewpoint, and obviously they'll watch the fight based on their speciality, and then you get to like sit down and choose and decide and feel when you're in the moment of high pressure, what are you most likely to do, what is more natural for you. So it's really about that, and then off of that, working on that. And for me, it's a group effort.
100%. Let's talk about your opponent, Eduarda Moura. What do you make of her, and where do you think are areas that you're looking to exploit in this matchup?
I just think she's like, she's a strong grappler.
Mm.
And yeah, it's pretty funny because like I train grappling in New York.
Yeah.
So that connection as well with the city is pretty cool. And I just think that's what she's gonna try and do. That's what she does. That's what she excels at.
When was the first time you trained to hensos?
Um, what like 2 years ago?
Right, okay.
Yeah,
But you spent
yeah,
it,
2 years ago.
but looking at your Instagram, you spent a lot of time over those 2 years in New York. So it's almost like you're the surrogate home fighter in this one, dare I say?
Yeah, so like we kind of connected because Dan is good friends with Renzo.
Mm.
So he kind of messaged him as well as Mike Jaramillo, and he just messaged that we were in the area. We were here for a PFL event where he was commentating,
Mm.
and it was a few back to back. So we stayed for quite a while, and got in contact, and just things just really clicked, and then we just kept coming back and forth, and it was really helpful as well. Not only because of the incredible place it is to train, but since I was fighting in America, it helped me adjust to the time zone and
Mm.
everything, and I was working at an American time, so, and the flight and everything. Sometimes it gets a bit heavy, or sometimes it doesn't, but you kind of just don't want to gamble that on fight week.
100%. Talking again about your opponents, is there anything that you saw in it? I believe it was a last fight against Denise Gomes, the loss that you feel like you can take and apply in your game plan, or is it just given the styles, is it too dissimilar?
You're able obviously to see a lot more in that fight because a lot more happened.
Of
Uh,
course.
it was more competitive because previously she just kind of bulldozed over her
Mm.
opponents. They didn't really stand a chance.
Mm.
It was just like, bah. um, but yeah, I feel like there's loads of takeaways, as I'm sure she'll get loads of takeaways from my fight. It's just kind of how it is.
The way you said that then about there's more tape, there's more time, that sounded like something almost that Dan would say. When you said it, it sounded like a Dan phrase. Do yours and Dan's mind work the same in terms of mixed martial arts? Like is there a congruency or a connection there, do you think, or are you like how similar do your minds work when it comes to the MMA game?
Yeah, I think it's the way that he's coached me and the fact that we live together.
Of
Obviously,
course.
there's a lot more time to,
Mm.
to like coach somebody that's not only technical, it's like other aspects. So a lot of the times I'll be doing something, and I'll make a mistake, and I'll hear his voice tell me what the mistake was. So it's almost like he doesn't really have to be there to tell me because he's already he's already put it in my mind. And that is incredibly useful because it helps me, in the fight. I can adjust to what's going on more quickly because I can realize and I can pinpoint, what I did incorrect or what I can exploit from what's coming at me.
So there's almost an advantage there because whereas every other fighter, when they leave the gym, they're not with the coach, you're with your coach 24/7. So even when you're, you know, picking up your knife and fork to eat your evening meal, Dan's probably looking at with your hand placement and your footwork and making sure that everything's perfectly lined up.
Yeah, sometimes we're walking and he's like, you see that guy? You see the way that his leg is pointed in, now his knee is gonna suffer and then he goes into this tangent and I'm like, okay, I'll remember to walk straight.
I love it. I love it. Look, obviously you had that big layoff and we've headed to the return at 286 and you've got on this fantastic win streak. You win this fight next month. When do you think people will start talking about you as a legitimate contender at the strawweight division? Because I still don't feel like, despite what you've done since you returned back last March, that people are really giving you the credit you deserve.
I don't feel like it's not giving me a credit I deserve. I mean, I was like 1-4 in the UFC.
True,
It's
true.
like it's like pretty obvious. I don't feel like anybody's, not giving me credit.
A 3-fight win
just
streak
like,
is a 3-fight win streak.
yeah, it is, but that's I feel like now I've kind of like broken even.
Okay, yeah.
And it's obviously the 3 years off. People kind of want to be like, oh no, she's come back different. But in order for people to believe that, they have to see evidence of it. It's not just like, it's not just going to come out of nothing, especially because I was at a deficit. I wasn't coming into the UFC like undefeated. And then this happened where it would be a bigger thing. I understand my position. But I mean, I would think the same thing if I was watching myself.
Yeah, no, that makes sense the way you say it. And maybe that's just because I watched that many fights and think sometimes things release my memory. But how far away do you think you are from a kind of a top 15 ranking? I mean, there's people like Angela Hill, Tisha Pennington right at the bottom of that strawweight division. I think they would be great fights for you should you get across the line next month.
Well, I wouldn't fight them because I'm a flyweight, and there's no way I'm
Oh, you're a
making
fly. Yeah,
115.
sorry, my mistake. I'm getting myself all mixed up. I'm getting myself all mixed up.
No worries, I meant to tell you that but on the previous question because you said strawweight, but
Strawweight.
no, for flyweight, I think maybe this is the last fight until they might give me somebody in the top 15. It would make sense, then my record in the UFC overall wouldn't be even. It would at least be like a win. So yeah, like I understand the way things are playing out. I think they're playing out at a good speed that's allowing me to evolve and improve in many ways that I have, because obviously with a 1-4 record in the UFC, you were doing things right. Like there are things needed to change and you needed to evolve, and that takes time. And I feel like I've not rushed it.
Apologies for getting your weight class wrong there. Maybe that was because I was in the bleachers back in Austin. I thought you were maybe smaller than what you were, maybe a weight class below. That's probably a thing for me. So apologies. I know as you mentioned,
No,
Dan,
it's like if you look at my opponent, flyweight. If you look at me, you're like, oh.
Have you ever
Oh,
considered
she's
going to
small.
115?
I mean, I've been told a lot to go to 115, but as like I saw Paul Reed and I work with him. He's my nutritionist, and he put me on like all sorts of scans in the most detailed way possible. And he told me like it's not safe for you to go to 115. It's much better for us to just kind of like reconfigure how your body is a little bit, like cut some fat and put up some muscle. And then that would be the right weight class for you to perform, because it's not only about making the weight and it's not only about competing the next day. It's also about training. Like, how do you expect people to show up to training and give their all, be cognitively there? Because when you're hungry, like, do you think anybody cares about technique?
Yeah, no, you're right.
You're just like, oh my God, I can't wait to have a burger. And I feel like that's where not a lot, but like some fighters are. And maybe that's where my opponent used to be. And now her moving up will give her all of that, like, that, oh my God, I came to training and I had more energy. And in reality, what it would be doing would be making you a normal athlete and not at a deficit on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no 115.
Will you be sticking around for the heavyweight on the main event between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic, or will you be in some New York pizza joint by that time?
They don't let you stay.
What's that? Sorry.
You gotta go.
That's just...
They're like, oh, you fought. Okay, cool. Pictures, interview. You want to leave now or in like 5 minutes?
That surprises me every single time a fighter tells me that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we usually, well, last time it was cool because we had like this little Airbnb and we came back and we watched the rest of the fights and it was a bit like surreal because then you're like, oh, I was just there. That's so crazy. And yeah, so hopefully we do something like that because I really enjoyed that last time.
How do you see the main event playing out?
Well, obviously, I feel Jon Jones is, just the younger athlete. Not only is he's like very, he's incredible. Honestly, it's incredible the way that he fights. Not only his technique, but his very, very mean approach that he has to fights. Like some, like I said, it's a very like random thing, but it's like an octopus will punch a fish out of spite. I feel like that's Jon Jones. Like when he's fighting, he'll do something that is just, it's so mean. And that gives him such a great advantage, as well as everything else that he has that I would just personally never pick against him.
Do you think he sticks around after this fight to fight our boy Tom Aspinall, or do you think he rides him into the sunset?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he would stick around. I mean, maybe just as him having to prove himself, but I don't know, man. Tom Aspinall's a big problem. He's and I just believe that like we're not seeing prime Jones. So that's like a whole different story as well.
It's a timing thing, like as one goes up, another goes down. One of those situations.
Yes, yeah, I feel so because like when I watch Jon Jones, his earlier fights are the ones that I can see, and it's not even like the opponents have leveled up so much. I think he had a lot harder fights before. Like his first UFC fight, I was like, my goodness, that guy is sick. Like the level was really high as well in the division and the people he faced. But each of those battles kind of takes it out of you. And he's further along in his career where he's had more training camps and just more pressure, more all of it. So it's not, I don't think he's safe.
Well, turning the conversation back to you for one final question. You can be as brief or as detailed as you like with this one. But as you envisage fight day, give me a walkthrough of how you envisage the perfect day. So when you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep at night on fight day, how do you envisage a perfect day?
Oh my God. Definitely a cinnamon bagel. That's like number one. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to get a cinnamon bagel. And I know all the bagel spots in New York because I've tried them. So that's definitely number one. And then just like a shakeout with my team, back to the room, relax, and then until you're ready to go. And then when you're there, you walk out, and that's pretty cool. And then Tate comes because I always request for Tate, and he's just so funny. He's just like such good energy to be around, and that's so important because you're kind of at that stage where anything can affect you.
Of course.
So yeah, like it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be able to share such an intimate, intense moment with people that you care for. So yeah, that, and then walking out, having a good fight, and hopefully celebrating.
You've also taught me something new because I didn't know the fighters could request a specific cutman.
Yeah, they actually obviously they have the cutmen that are there for the location. Like sometimes one won't go to a place because it's like really far. But they give you a list, I think, of like 9 different ones or 8. And then you can choose. And yeah, I always choose Tate.
So you can pick a cut man, but they won't allow you to stay and watch the fight in the arena that you've just fought in. That's a bit of a strange one, I have to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, and then they're like, give me a piece of your clothing. And so you're trying to get out, and you're just like, oh, okay. Oh, here's my pants. So they also take your clothes before you leave.
I think that's the best place for us to end. Veronica, thank you as always for your time. Always good catching up. Great to see you back in action, and wish you the best of luck for the next fight.
Thank you very much.